Hello again, you're watching News Today, and moving right on, senior legal practitioner Samuel Kujitu has indicated that the judges in the just-ended election petition hearing urged in their judgment. According to him, the judgment should have read 5-4 in favor of the petitioners. Other speakers of the function also questioned judges' ruling, noting that their judgment had set a dangerous precedence for future election petition hearing in the country.
Both Bafoboni and Doche were asking votes to be cast in the certain areas where this malpractice had occurred. Some were calling them infractions. They've given all manner of names to them. And we say an infraction is an infraction, no matter by what vituperative epithet you add to it. It does not change its character. An error is an error, no matter which way you put it. And so, the Constitution is very clear. It says that if a candidate does not obtain more than 50 plus, election must be what? Rerun. So you cannot say that election should be run in some constituencies. Because once the 50 plus is not attained, there must be what? A rerun of the whole election. And so I believe that at the time they were making those statements, they had not properly addressed their mind the constitutional provision. And so my reading of this judgment is the fact that it was 5-4, rather in favor of the petitioners.
If you read through carefully, what we are discovering is that it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, all that we need is that the results are declared. And if you are not comfortable, go to court. And if you go to court, nothing, because your polling agent didn't do his work. Are we advocating the very thing we are trying to prevent? That at the end of the day, let us decide at the polling station whether you win or not. And it's a very dangerous thing for Ghana, and we condemn it with all our strength.
According to Justice Atuba, very interesting. If you read his judgments, Atuba, he said, and let me read. That's the last page. He said, for starters, I will state that the judiciary in Ghana, like its counterparts in other jurisdictions, does not readily invalidate a public election, but often strives hard, do everything within their power in the public interest to sustain it. And that is exactly what our judges did. As I sit watching, you can see that if that is the mentality of the majority judgment, that means that the whole petition was a nullity. Because as I sit and watch with this quotation, it means that the majority have made up their mind that at all costs, and this is a highly prejudicial position taken by the majority decision. No wonder you can see the heckling that was going on. The same Supreme Court who was accusing the petitioners of using technicalities, adopted technicalities to prevent the truth. They did not allow the EC to produce the voter register. They did not allow the EC to produce collation forms. They did not allow the EC to even produce the original pink sheet.
the so-called majority appeared to suggest that the pink sheets were so unreliable that it led the petitioners into error. I humbly ask a rhetorical question, and with that, I'll resume my seat. If the pink sheets were so unreliable, could they form the basis of the declaration of a person as president? I have no idea. Thank you.
Away from that, confirmation of the president's nominee for DCE of the Kassina Nankanad West District of the Upper East Region today is in limbo because government-appointed assembly members in the district are raising issues of illegality about the assembly's meeting.
The government appointees say the Upper East Regional Minister Alhaji Limuna Mohammed Muniru on Wednesday morning accused them of disregarding the president when they rejected his nominee, George Nontera, for the position of DCE. According to them, the minister then proceeded to serve them letters revoking their appointments as assembly members with effect from August 16, 2013.
And the information he gave us was that it's like the government-appointed assembly members have disappointed him so much and disappointed the president to the extent that it is time for him as the regional minister to crack the whip. When he said that, we didn't understand what he meant until at the end of the discussion, he pulled out letters from a brown envelope and served on all the government-appointed assembly members that attended the meeting and told us from today, our appointment has been revoked by the president. And when you take a copy of the letter revoking our appointment, you see that the appointment is with effect from 16th August 2013. You know, we went in for the confirmation of the first nominee, the second round of balloting on the 17th of August. And for the letter the minister has given us, the revocation date takes effect 2013, and still to confirm the president's second nominee, which failed, which was also another illegality, because the letter states that after the 16th of August 2013, he was no longer a government-appointed member. That means he ceased to be a presiding member. We were served with letters to meet tomorrow, Thursday, for the confirmation of the second nominee, the second time, until we were called this morning and briefed by the regional minister that we have been revoked, our appointments have been revoked. And we think this is a serious issue we should bring to the public, because like I indicated earlier, all the government-appointed assembly members, 90% of them are the party constituency executive members, including my own self as the chairman.
Because of what the regional minister did, he has not recognized the efforts that we have put to maintain the party right from 2000 up to date. So for that matter, we, the constituency executives, if you look at it, all of us are constituency executives. You have the chairman, party executive members at the constituency level who held the party up to date. And he hasn't recognized that. And he has decided to put us off. So we are leaving the party en masse from today.
Joining us by telephone is George Cheba, his former chairman of NALAG. He will help us understand this issue further. Hello, George.
Yeah.
Many thanks for your time this afternoon.
I'm very grateful to you.
But so you have the issue where, members of the Kassina Nankana West District Assembly, rejected twice the president's nominee for DCE position in the district. And then afterwards, they have a letter terminating the appointment. And the letter is backdated 16th of August. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Let's look at the issues in context. First of all, if you look at the legal arrangement, I believe in Section 6(1) of the Local Government Act 462, the president has the discretion to revoke the appointment of government appointees in MMDA. The other option is for 3/4 of the assembly members to pass a resolution recommending their removal to the president on grounds of misconduct. So if the president decides to exercise this power of discretion vested in him by the law, I think that he's right in doing so, because he's not enjoined to provide any reasons whatsoever for the revocation of a mandate. But I have a problem with the fact that elections were held. I believe the confirmation process was yesterday. And they participated fully in the process of rejecting the MMDCE. And then a letter terminating the appointment is backdated with retrospective effect. That is where I have a problem because if they are to be removed from office, then they ought to be informed duly, or better still accordingly. But if they participated in yesterday's deliberation, then I have serious doubts as to how and why a president would backdate the revocation of the appointment. Again, I think that the regional minister can only exercise this discretion on behalf of the president if he's mandated to do so, either the regional minister or the minister of local government or whoever the president deems appropriate. The president can authorize or may authorize or mandate such a person to exercise that discretion on his behalf.
I don't know what you think about the timing as well. We've come to a point where, you know, assembly members over time have rejected the president's nominee, and after rejecting a nominee, you receive an appointment letter that your appointment has been terminated. Is that a problem with the timing?
It's difficult to say whether it's timeous or not. Depending on the way the president observes the situation. You see, sometimes you have agitations coming from the party, and then, like I've often stated, about 95% or more of government appointees to all MMDAs in this country are based on partisan consideration. So all these appointees might be party members. So once the party nominated you or recommended you to the president for appointment and you have been appointed duly, the party expects you to sing the voice or the tune of the party. And one of the tunes of the party is to ensure that the president's nominee or nomination to an MMDA is confirmed. So if the party has doubts or have suspicion that an assembly member who has been duly appointed or recommended for appointment by the party, is involved in an agitation or in some agitation against the nominee, then they might equally recommend you to the president for revocation of the appointment. Many thanks,
George, for your time. George Baffour is former president of NALAG. We put in efforts to reach the regional minister. Unfortunately, the assembly is in a meeting with the regional minister, and so we'll talk to him in subsequent bulletins. But let's stay with issues around DCs, this time in the Asin North Municipal Assembly, where the nominee who was rejected twice and renominated by the president has been rejected for the third time. Fully aware of the resistance he had to deal with, Alexander Nchibwesiakon this time decided to pull a stunt by going on his knees before the assembly members to plead forgiveness for any wrongdoing. He, however, could only manage 50% of the votes.
There was heavy security presence at the Asin North District Assembly Hall to ensure that the confrontations that erupted in the previous elections were avoided. In a dramatic fashion, the DCE knelt before the assembly members and pleaded for their votes to avoid a third successive defeat. But Alex Nchibwesiako's pleas and the intense lobbying coupled with the support of his colleague DCEs who thronged the venue could not make him sail through as he polled 25 of the 46 valid votes cast. Some supporters of the DCE who had thronged the election venue stormed the place after the election and demanded why the Asin North District Assembly should be denied a district chief executive.
What do you mean? Maybe we
Central Regional Minister Samuel Sapon, in the company of his deputy, Queen Tapoku Asoya, were held spellbound at the turn of events. Meanwhile, within a period of 10 days, another election is to be held to finally confirm or reject the DCE. That will be Alexander Nchubuisiaku's fourth successive attempt at becoming the DCE for the Asin North Municipal Assembly this year. Richard Kojunyaku's report from the Central Region.
Former Convention People's Party presidential candidate George Agude began his 3-month jail sentence on Wednesday after he was discharged from hospital. DSP Freeman Tate Police Public Relations Officer confirmed this on Wednesday. Chief Public Relations Officer at the Ghana Prison Service, DSP Vitalis Aye, also confirmed Thursday morning that his outfit has taken custody of the 2004 CPP flag bearer. Although George Agude was jailed 2 weeks ago for failing to pay the Social Security and National Insurance Trust of his workers of his company, GoCrest Security Company. He fell ill shortly after the sentence was passed. He then remained in hospital until Wednesday when officials of the police hospital discharged him. Agude was arraigned before an Accra Circuit Court in February this year for non-payment of a total of 2.6 million Ghana cedis SSNIT contributions of his workers. He was subsequently ordered to pay back all monies owed SSNIT and also pay a fine of 500 penalty units. The corporate affairs manager of SSNIT, Eva Megashi, told Joy News Agude's sentence should provide lessons for both employers and employees to adopt the culture of social security contributions in the country. According to her, this calls for all of us to make social security a key issue in the country. It's a form of a clarion call to all workers, all employers and workers' opinion, as well as associations, to be vigilant to ensure that their social security contributions are not compromised. Now, the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital has issued an apology to its clients and the general public for any inconvenience and negative impressions created as a result of the recent increment in its service charges. In a press statement issued by the hospital, the management and board indicated that the hospital went through the laid-down procedures pursuant to the increment. According to the press statement, a letter from the Ministry of Finance dated July 31, 2013, which stated that the implementation of the new fees would commence after the 21 sitting days of Parliament, was interpreted to mean 21 working days. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Alhaji Yunusuf Hussaini, has affirmed the government's commitment to transform the Geological Survey Department into a semi-autonomous body. Speaking at the centenary anniversary of the department, he noted the move will enable the department to mobilize the necessary revenue from the data they generate to enhance their operations.
Geological Survey Department, after its establishment in 1913, has been monitoring seismic activities, including the possibility of earthquakes, landslides or volcanoes in the country. The contribution of the department to economic development over its 100 years of existence cannot be underestimated, as they are responsible for the discovery of virtually all the mineral deposits being mined in the country, apart from the Obuasi mines. The department is meanwhile currently prospecting for crude oil in the Voltaire Basin with impressive prospects.
In areas, in countries where there are no hope, they prospect for. If you don't prospect, you cannot get it. But in fact, I can say that in 1964, during our investigation, in collaboration with the Soviet Geological Survey, that's the Zerbej Geologia, a limited oil was found somewhere. We don't want to spill them in too much. It's likely that we shall get oil on the basin. Further investigation will reveal whether they are commercially viable or not.
Officials say the department appreciates government for its infrastructural support of $3.5 million, along with the provision of a digital seismological observatory and a drilling vehicle which would allow them to prospect deeper to locate hydrocarbons. They, however, maintain inadequate capital and skilled human resource for the operations remain their topmost challenge. government intends to assist and equip them with the necessary tools to do the mineral mapping of the country.
One critical support that we want to give to the Geological Survey Department is to turn them into a semi-autonomous body. But they generate all the data. Even hydrocarbons in this country, they generate the primary data. But they don't share in any revenue that is generated from the sale of the data. They are not able to do any business with the data. They are not able to come out with proposals that will make them responsive, okay, to revenue mobilization, to be able to invest in their operations. And that is why, as a first step, we have said that we are interested in turning Geological Survey Department into a semi-autonomous body.
The department has meanwhile launched its centenary anniversary celebrations with the support of the German geologists who donated a rock 175 million years old to the department.
You're watching News Today. I'll be back shortly. This is News Today, and in business, the Ghana Statistical Service has given the clearest indication yet that the Ghanaian economy may not grow as well as government had projected this year. It estimates a provisional growth rate of 7.4% is against the 8% contained in the 2013 budget. At the release of the quarterly GDP figures here in Accra, acting government statistician Philomena Nyako said growth in the second quarter also slowed to 6.1%. Let's do some oil and gas now. And the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is in discussions with the government to establish a National Energy Skills Center in the country. The center is expected to serve as a skills development hub for locals who would want to acquire knowledge in petrochemicals and the energy sector in general. The High Commissioner of TNT to Nigeria and Ghana, Nyahuma Metu Hotep Obika, made this known when he delivered a speech titled South-South Cooperation, Experience from Trinidad and Tobago. The ceremony was part of activities to mark the celebration of the 37th anniversary day of TNT, as well as to educate Ghanaians through the media about the investment opportunities in Trinidad and Tobago. The country, which is located in the Caribbean, has vast experience in the energy sector, having started commercial production of oil and gas in 1908. Its energy sector currently accounts for 44% of the total value of goods and services produced in the country's gross domestic product and 81% of its export earnings. The country also boasts of 11 ammonia plants, 7 methanol plants, and 4 liquefied natural gas trains, all of which are sourced from the country's petroleum sector. Professor Felix Nkomo-Asante, Director of ESA, has said government must consider broadening the tax base to bring in more revenue. He was concerned several individuals and businesses are not being taxed, with a few formal sector workers overburdened with taxes.
I think there are a lot of people in this country not paying taxes. I mean, there's a few formal sector workers who are paying this. There are a lot of businesses in this country who are not paying. We need to identify them and let them pay. I don't believe necessarily just increasing the taxes to solve this, but we need to expand the base, and expanding the base is getting a lot of people on board so that the burden on the few is cushioned. And I haven't seen that much. There are a lot of people, a lot of businesses in the service sectors who are virtually not paying taxes.
Electricity consumers will now have to brace themselves for a 78.9% increase in the bills effective October 1. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, which announced the new tariff, says consumers will also have to pay some 52% for the water which runs through their taps. I spoke with Ebenezer Baden, an energy economist at the ECG, who said though they welcome the tariff hike, it was still not enough to enable the ECG meet operational costs.
the 78% is being given for now. The automatic tariff adjustment mechanism will be put in place, and then we will gradually move up to the 150%. That's what the announcement said. Now, what this will mean is that we will take this 78%, try to recover within the next 3 months. We should be able to at least bill and then collect some revenue, strengthen our financial base, and then begin executing and completing all the ongoing projects, for example, that should bring out the improvement, some expected improvement in the quality of supply. You're talking about low voltages being addressed. You're talking about intermittent power interruptions being addressed. The issue of sustainability is a challenge we have had. If you we wait for 2 years and you do a one-off adjustment, that is not what we've asked for. We say that let's put some dynamism into electricity prices. As and when there are short-term adjustments, if it increases, if it decreases, let it reflect in price, so that at least the utility, time value of money is very important to us. So the utility will be able to recover funds on time, move into procure equipment, and get these things installed. That's the point. Because it takes quite some time to go through procurement system and get projects installed.
Right, and so now you know you'll be paying some 78.9% for electricity, 52% for water that runs through your tap. Professor Goski Alabi is Executive Director for the Consumer Advocacy Center. She joins us with her thoughts on this particular matter over the telephone. Hello, Prof.
Yes.
Many thanks for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts on these increments?
Well, first and foremost, as I had always said, all things being equal, nobody is saying that there shouldn't be an upward adjustment of the tariff. We do agree and recognize that indeed almost all the factors of production had gone up. We see the cost of labor is gone up. We see that the exchange rate is not remained the same, it's also gone up. And of course, we have also seen that many other factors of production, crude oil and other things, have gone up. So obviously, one would expect that there should be some upward adjustment. But our concern has always been at what rate and how much should be added on. Of course, we started with 166, and there was a lot of advocacy, there was a lot of interventions. The TUC and other recognized bodies came in, the Advocacy Center and a lot of consumer bodies also came in to add their voices. Fortunately, the PURC listened, and they have been able to bring it to 79.8 for electricity and 52. Indeed, we at the Consumer Advocacy Center wished that it had been a bit lower. However, we would also want to say that if this is the rate that the PURC believes can afford Ghanaians sustainable consumption of the utility, then they must also on their end ensure that the quality of services would be enhanced, that reliability of the services would be enhanced, and that availability of the service would also be enhanced. So, by and large, yes, there is a sigh of relief, for consumers in general, but it's not something that is making us jump up in the air, I keep saying. We might have to do a number of things, a lot of adjustments would have to be done. Of course, we don't want to see the system also grinding to a halt where the utilities can no longer provide us with the services. We heard over and again that some of the manufacturers were planning of relocating to neighboring countries. We don't want to see that happen.
Right.
But if we have to pay more, then we want to be sure that indeed the inefficiencies in the system would not be passed on in the coming year.
Speaking of the fact that if we have to pay more, then we expect quality of service in return. I spoke to the ECG this morning, and they tell me that really the 78.9% is not guaranteed that we'll get quality service because it's not enough at all. Where do we stand in all of this?
You know, it is a collective effort. We know that as consumers, we have some responsibilities, but they as service providers also have responsibilities towards us. We have heard that there are a lot of inefficiencies in the system. We need to tackle this by the root cause. I mean, this kind of ad hoc approach where today they say tariffs would have to go up by 166% or 100% or something would have to stop. We need, as a country, to sit down. As service providers, they should be able to conduct an audit of their systems to find out where the leakages are. They are telling us that now they are running more efficiently than before. And indeed, they are very close to the international norms. If it is so, then we expect that they will be able to provide us with better quality. If they are telling us, because the last time I was at a sister station on a television station with the economist, with the energy economist from the ECD, and he was telling us that indeed they have improved efficiency, and efficiency of the service provision now is close to the international norm. If it is so, what excuse do they have to tell us that they cannot supply us with quality of service? No, we wouldn't take that as consumers. They should be able to look through their systems, reduce the inefficiencies, and ensure that with what we are about to pay now, the quality would be enhanced. Of course, we know that in the past years, the automatic adjustment mechanism was not allowed to work the way it ought to have worked. What we are asking is that all these systems must be put right so that at the end of the day, Ghana can be assured of sustainable consumption and sustainable development of the utility.
And then again, we heard of the 50% that was earlier asked for. But Ebenezer Baden tells me that really these figures have only, the figure has only been revised down to 78.9% because the utility service provider, which is ECG, is looking forward to an adjustment after a 3 months incubation period. And so we expect that it should go up some more. But the question I'm tempted to ask is, in the event that we don't get the quality of service that we deserve, what can we do as consumers?
We all have a collective responsibility. The media, the advocacy groups, the TUC, and all the key stakeholders have a role to play here. Even the AGI, all of us, the Ministry of Trade and all other people must get actively involved in this process. What we are saying is that you, as Joy FM or multimedia, should not allow the people to rest. We must hold them accountable. We must be able to get hold of the promises they are making to us right now. We must be able to get hold of the adjustment mechanisms and the systems that support, adjustments of the tariffs, so that if we are able to hold them accountable from time to time, then we shouldn't sit and wait for them to come back and tell us that in 3 months we are increasing the tariffs. No, on what basis? Where the tariff increased to 78.9 or to 52%, we must allow the automatic adjustment mechanism to operate, to work. And that should be an annual affair, not a couple of months.
Right.
Because you see, what this means is that a lot of us, as consumers, as manufacturers, as organizations, we need to sit back and readjust our budget. We would have to now begin to factor out how we would adjust to this new system Because once you adjust utilities, it affects almost every facet of the economy, right? So it is not enough to say we are just adjusting today and a couple of months adjust again.
Right.
We must get the systems right. And you have a role, we also have a role to play in that.
Right. We'll leave that conversation here, Prof. It's great talking to you again.
It's a pleasure.
Professor Goski Alabi is Executive Director for the Consumer Advocacy Center. Let's move on to some other stories that concerns us. After just 4 years of existence, MultiTV, which is us, has been awarded as top emerging brand in the media category for the year 2013. Chief Operations Officer Von Klaus Backelstein, who received the award on behalf of our organization, said those in the industry need to look out for MultiTV as a force to reckon with.
It is the product of the millions of experiences with anyone who comes into contact with it and the emotional feelings people develop as a result of these experiences. This is according to Chief Executive Officer of the Center for Brand Analysis, Eric Afedu. In this year's Top Emerging Brands Awards, MultiTV won Emerging Brand for Media category alongside 11 other brands. Chief Operations Officer for MultiTV, Klaus von Backelstein, who received the award on behalf of MultiTV, said the brand is a force to reckon with.
First of all, we want to thank the Almighty God for giving us this energy, the strength, and the wisdom to continue doing what we're here to do. For us, it's a clear indication that the quality in our thrills and variety has been appreciated. And indeed, MultiTV has transformed the satellite business in West Africa. We will continue to give you the thrills. We operate the only multiple channel TV platform that draws audiences in different markets for different advertisers. And some of the few things that differentiate us and set us apart include the quality of our people and the strong dedication to get the work done to achieve business objectives. We thank you, and I'm proud of my team.
Eric Afedu, Chief Executive Officer of the Center for Brand Analysis and organizer, has placed the selection criteria for emerging brands.
What we do a lot to be able to come up with these sort of brands are all through research. We talk to the consumers a lot. We have something we call top of mind awareness. We go to the consumer and we tell the consumer that this is what we have. What do they say about these companies, or what company do they think is to their heart? So we look at those that are always being mentioned, and then we use that criteria to do a shortlist. So we gather a lot of information, even including the sales that they make. Many times we have questions coming from other companies and saying that, no, this brand was there, why is it that my brand is not there? And we can make information available to you as to why people chose that brand and did not choose yours.
The Center for Brand Analysis is an independent research authority that works in partnership with Premier Brands Ghana to manage the research process for all brands awards in the country. Other organizations who stood tall in their fields include Beige Capital, La Palme Casino, Lizzie Sports, Met Insurance, Unique Floral and First Bank. Others include Access Bank, Buena Vista, Wire Weaving Industry, MGP, and Appointed Screen Printing.
It means a lot. Access Bank, we have our vision to be the world's most respected African bank. You believe with me that we cannot do that without consciously building a strong brand.
For us, we believe this is an opportunity to tell the world how good we are with what we're doing when it comes to casinos in Ghana. And recently we've actually won Best Casino in West Africa. We have been 3-time winners, and we continue to win this as the top emerging brand in Ghana.
Representatives from the various organizations were also lectured on the rudiments of branding and leadership.
The minority NPP has described the state of the economy as collapsing. At a press conference, they shared their views on the economy.
The DC government was admitting to presiding over bad economic management. 7 months down the line, things have gotten worse. Now, there's consensus, even within government, that the economic situation is in a complete crisis. The signs, ladies and gentlemen, are everywhere. Our debts are rising alarmingly. From a total public debt of 9.5 billion cedis in January 2009, according to the Bank of Ghana, not according to MPP, Ghana's public debt stands at 43.9 billion cedis. Let me repeat. From 9.9 in 2009, according to the Bank of Ghana, our public debt stands at 43.9 billion cedis, which is about 49.5% of GDP at the end of August 2013. Between December 2012 and August 2013 this year, the government has added 8.8 billion cedis to our public debt in 8 months. What that means is that every month from January, the government has borrowed from domestic sources 1.
Meanwhile, government has neglected the claims of the NPP.
They have raised issues about debt to GDP ratio. As we speak now, the US has their debt to GDP ratio hovering between 65 and 70%. They try to cite examples trying to compare Ghana with Greece. Greece, per OECD report, had their debt to GDP ratio as of 2011 being 131%. And I'm quoting Professor Gregory Mankiw of Harvard University. And so, where do you put a debt to GDP ratio of 49% as against that of Greece? In any case, it's a matter of what you use the loans for. They cited the $3 billion Chinese loan. This is not a loan that is being contracted to be invested in a fixed property like, let's say, a presidential palace. And nobody is saying presidential palaces when constructed are bad. But what I'm saying is that if you construct a presidential palace, it is not going to generate revenue to service that particular loan. But this loan is being invested in the gas.
Sports is brought to you by Tigo and is next. In sports, some Ghanaian Premier League clubs risk being banned after a stern warning from Continental Football Governing Body CAF. All Premier League clubs have been directed to have certain structures in place by the end of 2013 before being allowed to participate in next season's league. This forms part of the club licensing directive by CAF to ensure clubs have a sound financial, administrative and legal backing to sustain them in the elite league. Ghana Football Association President Kwesi Nyantechi has been speaking to the matter with Joy Sports.
CAF Executive Committee took a position that the club licensing requirements must be implemented by all member associations, and all member associations were given up to December 2013 to comply, or else your clubs will not be able to participate in the CAF interclub competitions. And so it means that effective January 2014, any country that has not made into its domestic law the club licensing regulations and also comply with the licensing requirements of the club licensing system, you will not be able to take part in any CAF interclub competition. And this is very important. It's important because the whole concept of club licensing is supposed to professionalize club management in Africa. And if we are not able to comply with this requirement, it means your club will not be able to play football at the highest level in Africa. The Ghana Football Association complied with the CAF directive. So as of 2011, we had done our statutes. 2012, we had even gone ahead to organize seminars to create awareness and conscientize our clubs about it.
That's it for sports. Let's go across our borders and find out what's going on. And a UN-backed special court in The Hague has rejected an appeal against war crimes convictions by lawyers representing former Liberian President Charles Taylor. It ruled that his convictions had been proved beyond doubt. Taylor appeared impassive in court as the judge upheld his convictions and 50-year sentence. He was sentenced in May 2012 for aiding rebels who committed atrocities in Sierra Leone during its civil war. His lawyers had argued that there were legal errors during his trial. Taylor was found to have supplied weapons to the Revolutionary United Front rebels in exchange for a constant flow of so-called blood diamonds. He was found guilty at his trial of 11 crimes, including terrorism, rape, murder, and the use of child soldiers by rebel groups in neighboring Sierra Leone during the vicious civil war of 1991 to 2002. In Congo, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon calls the attacks being carried out by rebels in the eastern part of the country against civilians as appalling. African heads of state met at the United Nations to discuss the conflict which the United States says Rwanda is fueling by backing those rebels.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon called the attacks being carried out by rebels in eastern Congo against civilians appalling. African heads of state met the United Nations to discuss the conflict which the United States says Rwanda is fueling by backing those rebels. Fighters from Congo's M23 rebellion are the biggest challenge to the government troops and UN peacekeepers in the eastern Kivu provinces of the Congo. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said earlier this week that the rebel attacks include violence against women and children. African leaders meeting at the United Nations are backing peace talks in Uganda, but the talks are complicated by persistent reports of Rwandan support for the rebels. The United States is among those who have called on Rwanda to stop their support. Rwanda President Paul Kagame denies involvement and says the international community shouldn't focus on M23 rebels when there are so many other groups contributing to instability in the eastern regions of the Congo. The peace talks in Kampala have focused on other armed groups as well.
That's all for our segment. Let's now do some showbiz news now. And the winner of the 2013 Big Brother Africa reality show, The Chase Delish, and two other BBA housemates have arrived in the country. The former BBA housemates are in the country at the invitation of Ghana's female representative at this year's game, Sally, who is throwing a party this weekend.
Sally, who is celebrating her birthday this Friday, September 27, is throwing a grand party at the Excel Lounge here in Accra and has invited a number of her former BBA housemates to attend. Namibian housemates Delish and Maria, as well as Nigeria's Melvin, arrived at the Kotoka International Airport last night. Uti Nwachukwu, winner of Season 5 of the Big Brother Africa show, was also among the former reality show housemates who arrived at the airport. Uti is expected to MC the party. The housemates are promising a fun-filled experience.
Me personally, it's a great feeling seeing Delish, Maria, Melvin all over again. So yeah, we're just gonna jump on that and chill, enjoy.
It's gonna be a good experience. It's my first time, so I hope it's gonna be good. And yeah, I believe it's gonna be a good holiday, sort of.
You're gonna expect lots of fun because that's what we're here to do. We're here to make her have the best birthday she has ever had all her life. Yeah.
We're gonna be having a lot of fun. We're gonna be spending a lot of time with the housemates. So yeah, just keep your eyes open, and yeah, we'll hopefully meet each and every person out there that helped us in the Big Brother house.
Meanwhile, Sally, who received some flack for charging a gate fee of 50 Ghana cedis and 100 Ghana cedis VIP for her birthday party, has been explaining why fans would have to part with some cash at the gate.
I'm not charging gate fee. I have a VIP special invitation for my invited people. You know that in Ghana, clubs already charge their money. So this is the normal charge that is charged at the gate fee if I have not invited you. So we just wanted it to be known to our fans because I'm giving out tickets to my fans on Facebook, to my fans on Twitter, to my fans everywhere. I'm giving out free tickets. So that is it. So if you don't have a ticket, it's almost as if you are just coming to party, because we can't bring the whole of Ghana there, even if we want to. Yeah, so that is it. So I'm not charging. Yes, we're invited. We've invited media people. We've invited actors and actresses to grace this historic occasion. So yes, event. So yes. Thank you.
Oh, you people. That'll be all for the segment, and that'll be all for this as well. Before we go, a quick recap of our headlines. Confirmation of the president's nominee for DCE of the Kassina and Nankana West District of the Upper East Region, as in limbo as government-appointed assembly members in the district raise issues of illegality about the assembly's meeting. In business, Ghana Statistical Service says the Ghanaian economy may not grow as well as government had projected this year. Meanwhile, a UN-backed special court in The Hague has rejected an appeal against war crimes convictions by lawyers representing former Liberian president. Thanks for watching. My name is Kimini Nyamani. I'm another small news on MyJoyOnline.com.